Hey guys, welcome back to Stuff Steve Likes, and today I just wanted to go over a video on choosing the best knife for your everyday carry. And basically, I believe that everyone should carry a knife. No matter if you're a man, woman, responsible child or teenager, as long as it's allowed in your jurisdiction. Obviously, most schools don't allow them, most government buildings and so forth don't allow them. But if you're able to take one with you, I believe it's important. And so I've got a bunch of different knives here on the table that I wanted to go over, and just kind of their purpose and what you would choose them for. Obviously, as an office worker or somebody that works in a professional building, something like that, you don't want to be taking something like this big old Buck Mesa out there. I mean, that wouldn't probably be your best choice in this day and age. Though at one time I'm sure that was fine. Something like this is great. This is a little Victorinox. This is my daughter's knife. Here's a little Buck. That is my son Steven's knife. And, it's just such a great little size. See if that'll focus in there. This is a little Buck. It's called the Buck Deuce. Don't laugh. That's what it's actually called, the Buck Deuce. And the reason for that is it has two blades on it, two little blades. And that's a great choice for an office situation. This is another little knife that I picked up last December. This is a case. This is called the Medium Stockman. And I really like this knife too. It's nice and small. It's just a slip joint, so you don't have to deal with a lock or anything like that. And you have 3 blades on here too, which is nice. You could have one for cutting your fruit up at lunch, and then the 2 other blades you could use for cutting open boxes or whatever. So 3 blades on there really gives you a lot of options, which is nice. This is another little case knife that would be good in an office situation. And this one does have a lock on it. As you can see, it's a little back lock here. But a nice small blade, nothing too scary. I mean, let's face it, sometimes you open up a knife and people look at you weird. They're like, oh, what are you doing with a knife? But anyway, that's a good one that's not too scary looking. And there's a couple others here that are of a little bit larger size that would be good for an office situation. This is called the UK penknife, and I actually have 2 of these knives. I have this one here, and I have this one here, and these are non-locking blades, meaning that they don't have a locking mechanism in them. They just have a tension spring, kind of like those case knives. But they're very, very nice thin blade, very, very thin blade, and they just have an excellent feel to them in the hand. I think far superior to any of those other small ones, just because it actually does fill your hand up when you grab it. But yet, not a really scary blade shape or anything. So those are great knives too. And those are, just as the name says, that's called the UK penknife. Those are UK legal. So if you're in a location and there's more and more of those throughout the world where you're not allowed to have a locking blade, these are a great choice for you. So those are excellent choices for an office situation. If you're going camping or anything like that, I definitely recommend a fixed blade accompanied with a folding knife. By fixed blade, I mean a knife like this. This is the Buck Mesa, and I've already done a review on this. But this is a fixed blade, meaning that there's no pivot here. It's just all one piece here. As you can see, it goes all the way through. And a fixed blade is going to be much stronger than a folding knife. And for that reason, I really recommend those for outdoor use, any kind of heavy-duty use. Anytime you have a folding knife, even though something like this, this is a very strong blade. This is a Tops knife, and just a really beautiful, beautiful tactical knife. It's called the Milspy 3.5 T, and that stands for Tanto Point. And this was generously gifted to me by by a friend of mine. His name's Dean, and Dean, you know who you are, and this was a great day in my life when you literally out of the blue gifted this knife to me. I love this knife. This is a great companion to a fixed blade because it's very strong, but it will never be as strong as a fixed blade because it does have this pivot screw here where you fold the knife up. So any kind of outdoor use, I recommend a fixed blade like this. Now this is not a real expensive knife here, this Buck Mesa, but here's a couple more, even more inexpensive options. This is the Mora 511 Basic. This knife is only about $10 on Amazon. Made in Sweden, high carbon steel. High carbon steel does pick up a little bit of a patina to it. You can see there I've got a little bit of patina going, and that's just because I was using it for food prep and did get some moisture on it, but it's not going to hurt the knife at all. But that's the Basic, and then this is another carbon steel Mora. This is called the Robust. This is the, I believe it's called the Craftline Robust, and this one, if you can see there, has a little bit bigger blade to it, a little bit thicker blade, and a little bit nicer handle. It's got the rubberized handle. This one's about $15 to $20 on Amazon or eBay. That's a great outdoor knife too. And then as a companion to those, I usually take something like this Tops knife that I just showed you. That's a great blade. I take this one quite a bit. This is my paramilitary 2 that I've done a review on, and this one just has a really nice blade for slicing on it. It's got that full flat grind on it, you know, just a really nice kind of long blade, very thin blade though, so you can get a good slice on food, or if you're cutting into wood or whatever you're using it for. This is a nice little knife that I take for outdoor use as well. And this is a Benchmade mini griptilian. This has the axis lock, which is really cool. It just has this little button here, and when you open it up, you'll see that goes right into the slot there. Boom. And it locks it, and man, you can just like flip this thing around all day long. You can even do it one-handed. This is a really fun knife to play with. There we go. Now I did it one-handed. Okay. So this mini griptilian is an extremely heavy-duty knife. Nice and small though. And this was gifted to me by a buddy named David. You know who you are. Thank you for that. And another great outdoor knife that was gifted to me is this one here. This is a JB little skinning knife. It's a guy out of, I believe it's New Jersey, who forges these, and I think it's called JB Products or JB Productions, and he uses a ball bearing to forge these. So this is all made out of an industrial ball bearing, and look at the hammer marks on that. I mean, he actually uses a hand hammer and an anvil to make this, and this baby is, man, this thing is super sharp. Really nice profile. This would be a great skinning knife or a little woods knife, and this one is a fixed blade too, but instead of a standard handle, he just uses paracord and wraps it around. So if this paracord ever came off, you could actually make a handle for this out of wood or anything that you wanted to, and you wouldn't even need a handle on it because the metal comes all the way back. Paracord just makes it a little bit more comfortable, but that's a great little outdoor knife, and that was gifted to me by my father-in-law. Thank you. It's a great little knife. So those are great outdoor knives. Now, in my situation at work, I'm doing a lot of cutting of cardboard, cutting tape, cutting tags off of items, off of products that I'm selling and so forth. So I need a one-handed knife, and what I typically reach for is going to be this knife here. And this is in my work situation where I'm using it probably 10 to 15 times a day, where I need to quickly access the blade. This is the Spyderco Delica, where I'll grab this one. This is the Spyderco Native. This is the Native 4. They have several different versions of this. I will take the UK penknife or this little dragonfly here. And the reason I really like these Spydercos for that use is the one-handed opening. That little spider hole just lets you open it with one hand, and you can even close it with one hand too. You just kind of hit the lock, shake it down a little bit, and close the knife. I'll show you on this one here too. So you open it up one-handed, just like that. There's that better look at that spider hole. That's actually patented by Spyderco. Some companies use like this. This is a SOG Twitch XL. This has a little thumb stud here, and you can open it by flipping the thumb stud. This one's also a flipper, and you just push this button in. Let me see how I was going to show the blade. Boom, and the blade opens up. So that's a nice one-hander as well. If you can find an assisted opening knife, this, I'll show you the name on that. That's a SOG Twitch XL. So that's a good one. But all these one-handed knives are really handy because a lot of times I'm holding something like a box or something like that, and then I have to cut it, and then I'm still holding it, and I have to be able to close it. And so these Spydercos or like this Twitch works really well as a one-handed opener. These knives, I've carried this one at work, but it doesn't work quite as well because this is definitely a two-hand opener. You have to hold the knife, and then it's just got these little nail nicks. I mean, there would be no way to open, there's no way to get your thumb in there to open this knife. So definitely in a situation like mine where you might work a retail job where you're stocking shelves or something like that, you know, those types of knives work really well. But there's one last knife that I wanted to talk about, and that is an emergency knife. Now, any of these knives would work excellently, if that's a word, excellently for you in an emergency situation, because let's face it, at that point, it's an emergency. You need to get out of a seat belt. You need to let's say somebody, you have to make a quick tourniquet or something like that. Any of these knives are going to be excellent for the simple fact that they're going to cut. But I do have one specialty knife here, and this is called the Spyderco Assist. And this is an actual emergency knife. And as you can see, it has little hand grips right here. And so you can grip the knife like this. And you're like, why would you grip the knife like that? Well, check this out. This is a carbide glass breaker in here. You pinch the grip like this, and the carbide glass breaker comes out. So in a normal situation, there's nothing there, but if you have to break that car window, it pops right out when you squeeze it together. The other thing that makes this a safety blade is this. There is a spider hole here, but it also has this little ramp on it, this little grip here. And so even if you're wearing heavy gloves, you can open this. It's not going to slip off when you're wearing gloves. So that's another nice feature. The other thing is right here, this is an actual emergency whistle built in to the handle, which is crazy. You actually blow in here, and it is, I have tested it, and I'm not going to do it because it's going to blow your ears out. It is super loud and super effective. So that's a really neat feature. And then the other thing here, look at the blade. Do you see how huge those serrations are? This thing is a seatbelt cutting machine. This thing will go through rope, anything that would clean the blade off there a little bit. It got a little dirty. Anything you need to cut, you are going to be able to cut with this knife. This baby is serious. This thing is a chainsaw. And man, I'm telling you, just don't dare touch it harder than that. This baby is so sharp. And look at the tip too. See how it's rounded? So the tip is not sharp, and it's actually dull. Like there's no way you could cut yourself here. And then it's actually hooked up here. And the reason for this is a lot of times paramedics in dire situations, they have to remove somebody's clothes very quickly to get to, a compound fracture or to put a tourniquet on or anything like that. And the danger with, let's say, something like this knife here is that you could so easily, if you were taking, you had to cut somebody's clothes, you could see how easily you could stab somebody and cut them. Well, look at this knife. I mean, you can, all day long, you can sit there and run this across your hand. You're not going to make a mark because that is actually dulled. I don't know if that'll focus there, but it's actually dulled on the tip, and then it has that little hook there. So this is just an absolutely incredible knife for, let's say you were a firefighter or an EMT or an emergency room doctor, anything like that. This knife would excel. Now, I actually bought this knife for our Suburban for when we go camping, and we keep it in there at all times, just in case. If you would have to cut your seatbelt off or anything like that, you hear about it all the time. A car goes into the river, it's an icy road or a slippery road, and they go into the river, and if you've ever been in a wreck, your seatbelt clamps down really hard. This will allow you to get in there, not cut yourself, and cut the seatbelt. So really, really amazing design on this knife. So, I mean, that's about it. Again, heed your local laws, and especially when it comes to schools and government buildings. Obviously, you're not supposed to bring knives in, but in a standard work environment, whether it be an office situation like these, an outdoor situation like these, or some of these bigger folders, or like a retail job, which would be some of these more medium-sized knives, there's a knife out there for you. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. I'm going to try to do some individual knife reviews on these to kind of show you the benefits and features of each one, or at least a few of my favorites here. But I hope this helps, and anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in, and you have a great day.